Bismillah. Welcome back, Zoo Crew. It's now day 41 of 90. So we have entered the second arc of our journey in season one of restarting my life at 33. And I've been reviewing kind of where we're at and all the things we've discussed. So, first of all, I truly appreciate every single one of you who comes and watches my videos and every single person who has subscribed to my channel. I really did not expect to hit 32 subscribers this soon in the journey, you know. Mind is kind of boggled or blown, you know. So again, thank you all, whoever has subscribed. And if you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for, you know? And I guess this is like the segue, so I should start telling people like and comment the video, you know, but it's a moot point, you know. Anyways, what I was getting to is my videos that have kind of done the best in terms of views were me discussing holiday propaganda and philosophy, so the allegory of the cave. And it's quite interesting to me that these are the two that really popped off, right? So initially, the videos that had been doing the best were the ones where I'm talking about like relationship stuff. And then, so now we've kind of like noticed that the trend is more so towards these. So if you guys want me to do more like conspiracy theory stuff or like more philosophy stuff or just kind of exposing the reality of the world, you know, we can kind of go into that, which is why I'm thinking today we'll talk about capitalism or the truth about capitalism, you know. So in general, like capitalism gets a really bad rep, which is crazy because we wouldn't live the lives we are living today if it wasn't for capitalism, right? Capitalism is what's responsible for bringing everyone out of like the depression into the industrial revolution, right? And capitalism is what propelled society so far forward, and that's why America was able to become a superpower, right? And like, let's break this down a little bit. So initially, why did people go to the movie theater? Because they wanted to watch their movies on a very big screen, right? So now what happened? Somebody was like, okay, well, why don't we just build a big screen TV? So the first initial big screen TVs, for those of you who have been around longer than me, you'll know they were very expensive, right? But there were people with money who wanted to buy convenience of being able to watch their movies on a big screen in their own home, right? So these people purchased the TVs. Now, what happened? The company creating the TVs used that money, invested it into R&D, so research and development, allowing them to now create the second generation of these big screen TVs and sell them for cheaper price, right? Now more people were able to afford these TVs. And then the cycle continues all the way to now where today you can go buy like a 50-inch screen TV for like a couple $100, right? So that is capitalism. That is like capitalism in its truest sense, right? When you have companies who are actually reinvesting their profits and like focusing on research and development, you're going to get technology that is very advanced for very cheap, right? Same thing with like refrigerators, etc. And then again, like you could even tie this into the whole notion of like where people are like, oh, AI is going to steal my job or technology is going to steal my job. And it's like, yes and no, right? So back in the day, you'd go to pump gas and there'd be a gas attendant getting paid minimum wage to fill your car with gas, right? Now, when you go to the gas station, you literally tap your phone, fill your gas yourself, and go on with your day. So all of those people who are gas attendants are now free to pursue creative adventures or other kinds of jobs, right? What happens is technology wipes out all the menial jobs. So like the jobs people shouldn't be doing anyways, right? It frees up everybody to go and do pursue other things that are going to actually propel society forward, which would be like entrepreneurship and arts, right? The arts is where culture is formed and created. So that's music, painting, film, writing, these kind of things, right? And then business at its core is you're providing a solution to a problem, right? And that's really like the truest essence of business, which is why business can be distilled into two things, a product or a service. And again, to be successful in business, you're solving a problem, right? However, we've reached a point where that isn't necessarily true because you have companies who, like major companies that literally control everything, major monopolies, and their main goal is to make money. They're not trying to help people by any means, right? If anything, they're the ones creating problems so that now they can sell you the solution, right? So this is why I think business and capitalism gets a really bad rep because people are becoming aware of the reality of these companies, right? So you have institutional companies like investment funds buying out all the real estate in America, selling it back to their other company, inflating the market and pricing people out because it's become an asset, right? It's become a very good investment. In my opinion, when it comes to real estate as an asset, I don't think you should consider residential real estate as an asset to begin with. If you're going to invest in real estate, you should be investing in commercial real estate always. It's much easier to handle and it's a better overall vehicle for your money, right? And sure, in commercial real estate, you could include apartments, so like multifamily. But again, I don't think that should be considered an investment. Like I don't think people should be buying residential real estate or like multifamily real estate as an investment. Like you're just becoming part of the problem. Especially because now it's become so trendy for everybody to be like a real estate investor, right? So you have all these idiots going out and buying houses they can't afford. They didn't do the math right. They didn't underwrite and they overpaid for these properties. They're just telling themselves, yeah, I'm a real estate investor because I own doors. And it's like, bro, you're not making any money, first of all. Like, if you're only cash flowing $100, like, you're doing something wrong. Like, you should be cash flowing minimum 3K a door, right? Like, if your deal isn't generating minimum 100K for you a year, like, you did something wrong. So that's my 2 cents on this. And like for anyone who doesn't agree, like I'm more than happy to debate you. Come through, we'll debate live online, and we'll see who's left standing, you know? And that's like the level of confidence I have in what I'm saying. Like, I'm more than happy to debate any of these fucking real estate investing gurus because I know they're all full of shit and they don't know what they're doing. And they're really part of the problem. Or, like, yeah, they're really part of the problem, right? So, as much as people are like, oh, yeah, it's the government and like it's all the immigrants, it's like, well, backtrack a little bit. Like, this whole issue has been going on since like 2008, you could say, right? And it's that like homes are not being built fast enough and everybody wants to live in Toronto or Vancouver, so there's more people there, right? If there's so much land, it's just that it hasn't been developed, right? And again, like now you have inflation, so the prices for everything keeps going up, and people are like, oh well, now I can't afford this because the price went up. And it's like, no, you can't afford this because your dollar keeps losing its value, right? Back in the day, somebody working at McDonald's had the purchasing power of $100,000. This is why you had people working blue collar jobs. Literally, they can own a home, two cars, wife stays at home, right? Now, if you're working at McDonald's, like you have the purchasing power of like $15,000, maybe 20K, right? So all of the value of our currency or the purchasing power has disappeared, right? So outside of this, like there's a whole thing. It's called the shoeshine boy theory, right? So I believe it was JFK. He's sitting in a taxi, and the taxi driver is telling him to like invest in stocks. And at that point, oh no, he's not sitting in a taxi. He's getting his shoes shined, right? And now the person shining his shoe is telling him, "Oh yeah, you should invest in these stocks," right? And at that point, he realized, "Oh shit, now it's a bubble. Like it's way too mainstream." When people who have no business or knowledge about investing are telling you to invest in things, you know it's a bubble. So NFTs is a great example, right? Everyone was like, yeah, yeah, buy these NFTs. It's a great investment. And what happened? All these people lost their money, right? Same thing with most crypto. Like crypto for the most part is just gambling and there's no like real value, right? So people are like, oh, it's like the digital gold. And it's like, not really, because gold is used for so many things and it always holds its value, right? I would much rather own real gold than like digital gold, right? Plus, like, yeah, it's literally just gambling. Same thing with stocks. Like, if you're investing in stocks the way most people are, like, you're not really investing in shit. If you're buying dividend stocks and like blue chip companies, and your goal is to like just keep buying as much stock in the company as possible until you have like a major stake in the company, like unless you're doing that, you're not really investing in stocks. Most people, when they talk about investing in stocks, they're really talking about trading. And again, that is literally gambling, in my opinion. Like, even if you're sitting in front of your computer studying charts all day, like you can't predict where shit's gonna go, you know? Whereas like with real estate, it's very easy to predict because it moves so slowly, right? And again, like you had all of these real estate coaches out here being like, yeah, everyone invest in real estate and like I'll teach you how to invest. And it's like these people didn't know what they were doing, which is why they imploded, which is why their students imploded. And the whole thing was they were literally making more money selling information than from doing actual real estate, right? And how did this whole thing start? I mean, we could like essentially I think we could put this whole blame on Ty Lopez, because this dude came out of nowhere. Oh, here in my garage, you know what I like more than this Lamborghini? Knowledge. And what was his whole pitch? Start a social media marketing agency. So now you have all these people going out trying to start a social media marketing agency, and they couldn't find clients. So what did they do? They convinced people, oh, yeah, you know enough about this, you could become a coach. Now enter the era of fake gurus. Mostly fake gurus in the real estate world, right? There's fake gurus in all of these industries, but my background's in real estate. That's why I'm so aware of like how this shit happened, right? And yeah, so I mean, like I would blame most of like the real estate market being so inflated on these fake real estate gurus and their students, right? Overpaying for properties, trying to like rent them out. Like their whole goal was, oh, I need to have 100 doors or like 1,000 doors, and it's like you literally missed the whole fucking game. The point, it doesn't matter first of all how many doors you have. The point is how much cash you're generating from each door, right? That's how the real players are playing. And outside of this, now everyone's like, oh, there's too many immigrants. And it's like, okay, well, first of all, you voted for liberals and these were their policies. Everyone was like, didn't realize when they announced, yeah, we're going to bring in 3 million immigrants. Like, I literally told everyone this is a terrible idea. And they're doing this to prop up the real estate market because they knew it would collapse, right? And now what do they have to do? They literally have to ship all these people back. So, like, the government literally did the same thing. They created a problem and now like they have to sell us a solution, right? So again, the government is not your friend. The government is not my friend. The government is nobody's friend. And for the most part, the government doesn't know what the fuck they're doing, right? So the cheat code in terms of business, you want to become very successful in business, you get in business with the government, because the government is not going to go out of, like, they're not going to go bankrupt. Well, actually, with the way things are going, they might actually end up going bankrupt, but let's just say that in a hypothetical world where like you have smart people running the government's not going to go bankrupt, right? So you want to become a millionaire, find a way to get into business with the government. That's literally your cheat code, you know? And again, it's because the government is not in the business of any of these things. The government doesn't know how to fix housing. If they did, we wouldn't have a housing crisis, right? They rely on smart entrepreneurs to solve the problems for them and then pay them accordingly. So if you look at the top 1% in the country, most of these people made their money either doing business with the government or providing a solution to the government or running some type of like nonprofit organization, right? And again, people don't know this. If you're running a nonprofit, let's say I open a nonprofit, right? I can pay myself a salary of 100K. So I can collect donations from everybody, and now like I have to pay all of my expenses. So literally people who are running nonprofits, that's what they're doing. The person running the nonprofit is taking a nice salary, and then whatever's left over after the expenses of running their nonprofit, they will donate or invest, etc., right? So this is like the crazy part of the world. People just hear nonprofit and they don't even know what's going on. You know, they just assume it's like a charity. And again, even with a charity, the person who's like in charge of the charity gets a salary for running the charity. The CEO of the charity gets paid for running the charity, right? So people don't understand, like, this is the way the game is played, right? And again, people are like, "Oh, capitalism is so bad." And it's like, first of all, we don't even have real capitalism here. We have a mix of like socialist policies and then crony capitalism. So crony capitalism, what does that mean? It means you need to have contacts in the government to get ahead. right? So literally, what have I been telling you? You want to become a millionaire? The cheat code is getting into business with the government because we live in a crony capitalist society. That's it. That's as simple as it is. And like you can look at all of the problems in the world and there's one major company or like a few major companies behind it, right? And it's all by design because the people who now control the world and the companies that control the world are really just interested in taking money from everybody, making sure nobody can be free, is dependent on the system, and essentially like they've created a whole nation of slaves. And what kind of slaves? Debt slaves. This is why everyone is in so much debt. And the more inflation we have, the more debt people will be in, right? However, this is a good point now that I just realized as well. Why do people buy real estate, right? So there's a few things. So now if I go and buy a property, let's say I bought a property for $1 million and I have a mortgage on it for 700,000, right? And I'm going to own this building for 10 years or even let's say 5 years. So 700K 5 years ago could buy you a lot more than 700K today, right? So your real estate, first of all, absorbs the inflation. So when the prices of everything goes up, rents go up, and commercial real estate is based on the income. So when you're charging more rent, your property value automatically goes up. The second way it battles inflation is your debt literally becomes worth less, right? So the bank loaned you 750K. When you pay it back, you're still paying back 750K, but each dollar is actually worth less than what it was when you borrowed it, right? This is why people get into real estate as an asset. So the thing is though, you don't just jump into investing, right? Investing is a passive thing. It's not a full-time thing. You can't be a full-time investor. It's not a real thing. It's just like some propaganda that these fake gurus are spinning like, yeah, I'm a full-time investor. It's like, well, you're probably a fucking idiot if you think you're a full-time investor, you know? What do people do? They own a business. Their business generates cash. Then they park that cash into real estate and let it multiply. You can't just turn nothing into something, right? This is a basic law of alchemy. So if you don't know about alchemy, it's literally like transmutation. So like turning a stone into gold, right? But it's not like you can turn nothing into gold. You still need the stone, right? So this is what I'm saying. Like 0 times 0 is 0. So you can't just be like, oh, I have no money, but I'm going to invest in real estate. I mean, look, there's ways to do this, but you're using other people's money or like you're just taking control of a property without money, right? But really, like, if we get down to like the core of this, it's all bullshit. It's all just people fucking lying, trying to sell you their coaching program or their course. And then when you do the course, you try and implement this shit in real life, and guess what? It doesn't fucking work, right? And these people know that. This is why they're selling you their courses or coaching because they're collecting that cash in their business. Their business is selling you information and then investing that into real estate. That's the whole fucking game, right? So if you want to not be destroyed by inflation, you need to have some form of a business and then invest into real estate. If you even if you have a very high paying job, you will get fucked by inflation because first of all, you're the person getting taxed the most. So if you're a lawyer, doctor, engineer, accountant, like you fall into this very highly specialized, highly educated category of people, guess what? You're the one paying the most tax, literally, right? And this is the way the government literally buys votes. It's called the Robin Hood theory. So they tell all of the people who like believe the government that, oh yeah, we're going to tax the rich, right? What ends up happening is the rich people are much smarter than the government, so they outmaneuver the government. They don't pay their tax, or they pay tax but not as like much, because they know that what are they doing? They're paying tax, and then the government's using that tax money to go and fund wars and like blow up countries. And the people who are like actually rich and like smart enough to be rich realize, well, we don't support this, so no, this is not going to happen, right? And literally, America, it's founded on a tax rebellion. Boston Tea Party. What happened? They said no taxes without representation. They threw all the fucking tea into the river and then they rebelled. So America is literally founded on the notion of not paying taxes. Taxes is literally a form of inflation because what happens? First of all, the rich people outmaneuver the government. Then you have all the doctors, lawyers, engineers paying majority of it. And then guess what? The middle class is paying tax and the lower income people are paying tax. Back in the day when you had tax, it was only the top 1% who was paying tax. Nobody else was paying tax, right? So I highly suggest you go and read about the history of tax or the history of capitalism, because all of these things, it's all propaganda. People have been brainwashed into thinking that capitalism is bad, they need socialism or communism. You do not need either of these things. Go and ask somebody who's escaped a communist country if they would ever go back. They're not going to say, yeah, I would love to go back. There's a reason they had to escape, right? And yeah, I mean, so these topics are all very big topics, and I feel to do each of these topics justice, I should do like one video per topic, you know? But the overall theme of today was, this is the truth about capitalism. This is the reality of capitalism. Capitalism is a good thing when the people in who are like in power have morals and ethics. Right now, all the people in power do not have morals or ethics, and people are so brainwashed by the propaganda that they think tax is good and they think the government is their friend. But people are now slowly waking up to the reality, because look at the state of the economy, right? And like, again, I'm not saying conservative is good, liberal is better, or like any of this shit. All of it's the same garbage. None of these people are your friend. Conservative, liberal, etc. Like, it's all the same fucking bullshit. They just are interested in gaining more power for themselves, more status for themselves. None of these people would solve any of these problems because they're not capable of solving these problems. They're not educated in these fields. They're not business owners. They're just politicians. They're career politicians, literally, right? That's why, in my opinion, like, this is why Trump won, because people realize like, shit, he actually knows how to run the country. Because like, you don't just become a billionaire by fluke, right? And people are like, oh yeah, well, he had like a small loan of $1 million from his dad. So it's like, bro, first of all, do you know the difference between 1 billion and 1 million, and like how much like business acumen you need to have to turn $1 million into $1 billion? I could count on my like two hands the number of people who have access to get a loan of $1 million from their parents. And I guarantee you they would blow it up within 6 months. They would not get anywhere close to accomplishing what Trump did, right? And like, this guy gets a bad rap because people are fucking stupid and brainwashed, right? That's why they let Biden come in. They saw what Biden did, and what did they do? They're like, oh fuck, this guy's terrible, get him out. And then boom, Trump is back in, right? So in my opinion though, I don't think conservative is any good. I don't think liberal is any good. What I think is the best is libertarianism. So essentially this means like, it's private sector businesses and minimal government and minimal red tape, and like the government is just doing small things, right? So like maintaining the roads, police, hospitals, etc. Whereas everything else is run by entrepreneurs. And I think in that scenario, like, that's the way the world should be. But again, like, all of the people who are genuinely good people who want to be in entrepreneurship aren't able to succeed because of the way the system is designed, right? The system is designed for people without ethics and people without morals to succeed. So obviously, this is why everywhere you look, most entrepreneurs are shady, bad people, right? And the ones who actually would like solve a problem don't get the opportunity to, because it's such a hard game, first of all, to compete in. And then secondly, because the system is designed to not let them succeed, right? So in my opinion, if we lived in like a libertarian society, you would see real entrepreneurs succeeding, people with good morals and ethics, people who are actually solving problems, not people who are just creating problems and then selling you the solution, or just trying to like take over the whole world and like turn everyone into a renter, or like get it to a point where like people don't own anything, right? So like, that those are my thoughts. Go do your own research, and like, I've given you the framework. Like, you can go and research all of this. It's nothing crazy, right? It's just that like, people are so unaware of everything. And like, again, this is like something I was talking to Mina about today. I was like, did you know Steve Jobs was born as a Muslim? People don't know this, but Steve Jobs literally was born as a Muslim. Google his birth name, right? His dad was literally Syrian. And people don't know this, and like, this is like the history that's hidden from people. Like, the things that you need to know about is hidden from people on purpose. They don't want you to be aware of these things. They want you to stay dependent. They want you to just not question anything, which is again why I suggest to everyone, Go learn about philosophy, learn how to think critically. You want to have a happy life, you want to have wisdom. The key to that is philosophy. And again, until you can think clearly, you won't succeed in anything you do. And even if you do succeed, you won't really be satisfied with your life. You'll feel there's something not quite adding up, or you'll have some kind of emptiness inside, right? Anyways, Zoo Crew, tomorrow is New Year's Eve, so I'm gonna try and sleep somewhat early today. I got a busy ass day tomorrow, and yeah, we'll see y'all tomorrow. Peace out, Zoo Crew.